which actually contributes to the gap. When you look at the industry, when you look at the level of trust between the academia and them, is very low. Why? Number of professors may be sitting in the room and doctors who have been doing publications from the African perspective. Mainly the agenda is to grow academic pyramid from tutorial to full professor. But when you look at this research, actually it is just publishing in the Scopus paper, well-known scientific, very good journal, class A, class B. But when you look at these professors coming from African village X, actually where they come from, it is really a poverty. You can see it. They are very well known in flying in the Airbus. They are well known in talking during the conference like this one. But when you look at the impact of the research they are doing, it's not seen from where they come from. So the innovation praise, actually it is the knowledge transfer office now changing what is happening now. It's like, let me look at the policy within the university. If you look actually any publication with a patent, it scores 5 out of 100. So now the advocacy is, if you want to be a full professor, score at least 30 or 25. That is minimal to be a full professor at least. At least to have graduated a venture, created the impact, jobs for startups, grants, cash flowing into young people for investment, helping them to find themselves outside here. But beyond this, as I look at conclude what I'm saying, given the time we have given, look at the infrastructure, the access to internet. If you want to innovate from the innovation perspective, internet plays a very big role. If you look actually at the bundle, the internet bundle, how much does it cost within our own space? It is over 1,000 Rwandan francs, $1. Is it affordable for somebody, to just do a simple research on desktop, find the level of novelty to launch a new product into the market? It's not easy. So the infrastructure-wise is not good. Look at the funding, which I want to conclude with. Sorry, moderator, I'm concluding with the funding. If you look at the funding, the Big Four I was referring to, actually the most countries that have raised a big funding is Nigeria, which has raised 160 million USD for startups, to be followed with Kenya and South Africa taking 35%. Kenya and South Africa. Egypt. But when you look at the pool of grants, any money that goes to startup is still a drop into the ocean, water. Imagine you want a startup and you don't have a seed capital. How are you helping the younger people to migrate? So when we are looking at the industry, where I started with, actually the trust, what are the industry doing to support these young people? If you look at, actually, for me, I come from the industry, which is maybe the banking. We offer support through CSR, but there is no single budget. Even the loans are not affordable for startup because of their banking history. This is quite concern, maybe for the young people who are in the room and they want to graduate from actually startup to SMEs. If you look at the death rate, survival rate, between 3 to 5 years, of a startup migrating to SME, the death rate is 99.9. Let me end here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pascal, for your contribution. I think I've taken note of, we have to make sure that there is trust, make sure that we have funds, but again, bring on board proper policy for startups or SMEs. So I don't know whether we still have room for questions. So MC said a captain no. So let me take this opportunity to thank our panelists and for your kind attention. It was really engaging and very insightful. Thank you so much.
Another round of applause to our panelists. I think the discussions were interesting. It explains why they went overboard with time. It was necessary because they were really hammering some important points and issues that needs to be addressed. So we are remaining with not a lot of time, but I will try to manage it based on the items on the agenda. So I'm going to do a little bit of switch on the agenda. We are going to have, next on the agenda, we're going to have a presentation from on project development program, energy efficient development. I think this is from GIZ by Gilbert Ntabakira bose. I will give him just 10 minutes to make the presentation, and this will be followed by a panel discussion on energy efficiency, which will be moderated by George Flom. And this is going to take 20 minutes. So please, I would like to caution you to please make sure you take that time into consideration so that we can leave ample time for the remaining items on the agenda. So without further ado, welcome to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, thanks a lot. Now we are going to talk about something different than what we have been discussing for past days. Related to how we are going to use this energy that we tend to produce. We have talked a lot about renewable energy. Now is the energy efficiency. Let me start introducing myself. And as you can see on the board, we are a part of Germany Energy Solution Initiative. We promote made in Germany by improving energy efficiency in the commercial and industrial sector. My name is Gilbert Ntabakira bose. I'm country representative for Project Development Program. Most of you know GIZ. GIZ is a government organization, act as technical service provider at the international corporation. We are active in more than 120 countries. We have we have been in Rwanda more than 40 years on different names. And now I'm talking about Project Development Program as a new program who has 3 years in Rwanda. Project Development Program is promoting green energy solution in 15 countries in worldwide, and with the financing from Germany Federal Ministry of Economic and Affairs and Climate Actions. We have facilitated more than 100 projects, and we have more than 1,000 in our pipeline. Okay, sorry, a bit. Now we are active in Sub-Saharan Africa, in Botswana, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Kenya, Madagascar, Mali, Mozambique, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, and Cote d'Ivoire, Zambia, and Uganda, and also in Rwanda since 2021. In the Middle East, we are active in Jordan, in Central Asia, and this Eastern of Europe. We are active in Georgia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine. In Asia, we are active in Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam. And in South America, we are active in Argentina and Brazil, where we are providing a green energy solution. That's it. We are offering these three main services: project development, business development, and the market development. Under project development, we do identification of scalable commercial projects, and we develop this project. And also we do evaluation of economical and political risk of the project. And on the left side, you see the project that we have developed on the solar rooftop, 50 kilowatt peak, and developed by PDP, implemented by Sour Energy. We do, in business development, we do market information integrated country, where we do sector studies. We did a sector study for solar, and also we have done regulatory analysis of solar PV. These are the two books that have been published. And also we do professional accompaniment with Germany Chamber of Commerce Board on business trip, on the targeted market, and delegation trip in Germany. In market development, you have done a German training week on the energy efficiency last year, this year in March, in May. And also we have worked together with EPD on the awareness campaign on solar, taken place last year. And now on the energy efficiency, there is, as it is a new topic, where every industrial player have an issue on knowing what is energy intensive equipment in the installation or in industry, and also he's asking what are the potential savings available, what the right technology that can fit into the business, and also how to make a call for tender, then what about payback period, is this project is financially viable, and also, if so, how to compare the offer, and also how I can get the reliable contractor to supply technology, energy efficient technology, then also what is the regulation related to energy efficiency. So PDP is here to provide the answer for this question for free of charge at no cost. To reach out of this, we need to pass for these steps where we need to assess energy demand by evaluating like what the type of technology existing in the business, and also assess impact of solution of the customer in the bill. Is if you have like a high electrical boiler who is consuming a lot of firewood, what is impact that can result in your business? And also we do a technical optimization where we evaluate what's the best type of technology that can fit under energy efficiency in your company. Is either to replace a compressor if it's efficient or not, or it is about motors, your motor is efficient, and also pumps, HVAC, and also waste heat recovery, where we tackle on the most boilers, what the type of boiler are you using? You are still relying on the wood boiler. Is it possible to use electrical boiler? Then we need to check which the best system design that can fit into your business. And also, we do evaluation of investments by assessing the business case analysis. Then we also evaluate different business model. Either you can move for purchase the technology, or you can do third-party ownership or ISCO model. Also, we evaluate different investment opportunity available. We need to check if this technology really can bring economic advantages in a business. Afterwards, we done with our assessment. We present the findings, and also we show you the cost savings in energy, and also we calculate CO2 savings when you move for an efficient technology to efficient technology. Also, we facilitate to access to the finance. Also, we facilitate for connecting with a suitable partner. Okay. So, as I mentioned, our services are free of charge. What we need, it is your commitment. For the first step, we identify energy efficiency potential after assessing existing regulation. And also, we need our focal person for industry to provide the information. We do analysis of energy existing audit. If it doesn't existing, GIZ we support for energy auditing. And also, we evaluate a business a payback period. We assess the capex for investing in this new technology. Also, we evaluate a business model, EPC or leasing, if possible. And also, we support on the access to the financial, as I mentioned, for last step, and to see if the project can be implemented in a mutual understanding. So, our activity can take up to maximum 6 months, where you can be able to replace your equipment to efficient equipment, and starting benefiting on the energy saving and the CO2 savings. So, why you should work with PDP? As I mentioned, we are free. We are a transparent and a neutral advisor. We cannot push you for moving on efficiency model if it does not providing any cost saving and energy savings. Also, we have experience on this sector, more than 10 years, and we have specialized tools for assessing energy needs. And also, we have qualified staff and the engineering component equipment from German. And also, we are offering a free services, no cost that we need to charge to any customer who wish to get our services. Thanks a lot for your kind attention. I think no question as of time is running out, and we should meet in the networking branch for more clarification if any.
Thank you, Gilbert, for the quick presentation and keeping time. I hope the presentation was able to capture some of the key issues that were discussed in the previous panel discussion, especially on the gaps, on the key gaps that were identified. So I think we'll hear more details on the panel discussion that is going to come forward. So I would like to request Mr. George Flom to come forward and invite the panelists to discuss this topic on energy efficiency. The floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and discuss this crucial topic of energy efficiency. We're here at this conference on renewable energy and sustainable growth, and I think energy efficiency is perfectly supplementing renewable energy and achieving sustainable growth and low-carbon energy systems. So I'm very glad to discuss this topic during this very interesting event. I'm glad to be here. My name is Georg Flom, and I'm working as a project manager for energy, for renewable energy and energy efficiency at the German Chamber of Commerce for Eastern Africa. We facilitate private sector linkages between Germany and Eastern Africa through a variety of measures, and we have a quite strong focus on renewable energy and energy efficiency. We support business linkages through a variety of measures. And we are a proud partner of energy private developers, and very glad to be here and discuss these crucial topics together. I would like to request my four panelists to come on the stage. As panelists, we have engineer Adeola Adebomi, who is a regional sales manager and applications engineer at Mega, which is a German British company which is offering test and measurement solutions. Welcome, engineer Adeola. Secondly, we have Belete Matebe, who is the managing director at Willow East Africa, which is a German company offering water pumps. Welcome, Belete. And since you're from Ethiopia, also Happy New Year. Gilbert, I would also like you to come back on stage. We've heard from you about the PDP program, and now we are glad to get a bit more information on energy efficiency in Rwanda. So welcome back, Gilbert. And yeah, you can also applaud for him. And lastly, we have Joshua Oladimechi, who is the CEO of Pistic Engineering, which is a Rwandan South African company, which is active in regarding EPC and energy management. Welcome, Joshua. All right. As we have limited time, I would delve right into the topic, and I would start with you, Gilbert. We are here to discuss how renewable energy contributes to sustainable growth, and I would like to hear from you regarding this. What's the importance of energy efficiency, and how can an energy efficiency supplement renewable energy in achieving low-carbon energy systems and sustainable growth?
Thank you. Pistic Engineering is an EPC and energy management company. We provide cost-effective and energy efficiency engineering solution. We specialize in energy system integration and industrial decarbonization, leveraging state-of-the-art technology and professionalism to develop and implement turnkey green energy projects that integrate renewable energy sources. We also do energy audits for C&I in C&I domain, and the result of this audit helps us to offer customized recommendation to enhance our energy efficiency. And lastly, we also do capacity development with our international partners like Association of Energy Engineers to train and qualified energy professionals. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And maybe could you add a bit on the general importance of energy efficiency for achieving the energy transition and sustainable growth? Either Joshua or, yeah, maybe Joshua, if you could add on that.
I didn't get your question.
How can what is the importance of energy efficiency in supplementing renewable energy in achieving low carbon energy systems and sustainable growth? What is the importance of energy efficiency?
Yeah, you know, if you look at the renewable energy space generally, you know, we can't properly or efficiently implement renewable energy solution without talking about energy efficiency. Based on our experience generally, let me say in the Rwanda context, you find out that a lot of projects are still failing. Why? Because a proper study was not done before initiating the project, and as a result of that, we've discussed this severally. You know, people begin to lose confidence to say it does, for example, solar works or not. Somebody was, for example, a case study in Nigeria that people are now switching for, even with the advancement in technology, you know, from lead acid battery to lithium-ion battery, people are now switching back to lead acid battery. Why? Because when you promise, this battery is going to give you like 5 or 10, 20 years warranty, and at the end of the day there is failure, then people lose confidence. So we can't actually properly drive the renewable energy industry without talking about energy efficiency. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that, Joshua. Gilbert, I would like to move to you now. Maybe you could provide us a bit more context on the situation in Rwanda. What are the biggest challenges and prospects you see for implementing energy efficiency solutions in Rwanda? Gilbert?
Thanks a lot. By highlighting some challenge in Rwanda for implementing energy efficiency, first of all, I see lack of skills in terms of qualified energy auditors. It is a big gap in Rwanda where you can highlighting maybe, I'm not sure, but when we do an assessment for this room, we cannot find more than 5 certified energy auditors. Then it is a big challenge on implementing energy efficiency in Rwanda, and also lead to also energy auditing is not mandatory in the industry or in the commercial building in Rwanda. Also, this lead a gap where no one knows where he's losing energy. Also, it is a big gap. Say if you don't know where area of improvements, you cannot improve. That's two. And also, there is a lack of collaboration, whether there is a planned training. The specific company does not have a willingness to send the technical staff to come and learn and knowing what is happening. It means even there is a lack of skills. Also, the industrial owner or business owner talking to or energy developer here in the room, they was not interesting to let the staff attending acquire new skills from different perspectives.
All right, thank you very much for highlighting these challenges. Maybe at the same time, what are the prospects? So how can we improve the energy efficiency in Rwanda? Which measures could work?
I think to improve energy efficiency in Rwanda, first of all, there is a requirement of financing also still an issue. And I think if we had a discussion with a financial institution, they doesn't have like a energy efficiency financial scheme, that can be something that can make energy efficiency application more fast. And also, as I mentioned in the presentation, we are providing also these services, which is free, for knowing if energy efficiency, if you need to apply energy efficiency in your company. That is our role, and we can cooperate with either EPD if there is any members or Rwanda Manufacturing Association if they wish to know what is the status on the energy efficiency in the manufacturer company. Then you can support them if they know what the cost savings, energy savings. It will be better to move forward for approaching the bank for getting financing. And I think also it is the area or the key where the bank may understanding, oh, this energy efficiency is needed. There is some people who is looking at financing for energy efficiency.
Now it's working. All right, thanks, Gilbert, for that. So basically the main challenge would be lack of capacity, and a prospect would be improving the financing solutions. Thank you for that answer. I would now like to move to Engineer Adeola. You are from MEGA. Could you kindly introduce what MEGA does, and also talk a bit about how advanced test and measurement solutions can contribute to identifying inefficiencies, optimizing energy use, and improving overall energy efficiency in utilities, as well as commercial, industrial, and residential applications.
Thank you very much for the question, and good afternoon to everyone. Yes, so I'm from MEGA. MEGA is the world-leading producer of testing equipment for the power industry, so it cuts across all the segments, so generation, transmission, and distribution, and even on the consumer side as well. So we've been talking a lot about skills, about academia, and also installations, but also we need to talk about the quality of installation and the quality of power being produced, because also in this you have a lot of energy losses, technical losses when the installation is done poorly, right? So, and also the quality of power being produced, so whether by renewable energy or conventional forms of energy. So do you have good voltage? Do you have good frequency? Good power factor? All of this will affect how your load runs, and you need tools. Like Gilbert was saying, for energy auditing, you need tools to check. So I spent some time in Germany, more than a decade, and they have a popular saying, trust is good, but check is better. So MEGA produces the best-in-class testing equipment to check. For example, to do load audit before I size my transformer or size my generator or size my PV, I want to know what is the real energy being consumed by this facility, so that way I can optimize whatever installation I'm doing there, so that way you are more efficient, and also even the quality of supply. For example, let's say an inverter, do you check, do you have harmonics, right? Do you have imbalances? These things will affect how efficiently also your load would run. And I'm also very happy that we have here academia, and we have here people, members from EPD, and also the industry. So MEGA has instruments to help you check all of your installations if they are in top shape, right? So for example, even if you want to site your PV plant, how do you also know the right orientation? So do you also measure the solar irradiance in several locations? When you're doing your feasibility studies, MEGA has the tools to help you check, okay, here and at this orientation, I'll get the best yield, right? So, and I'm assuming you've already used a MEGA equipment to do your load studies to know, okay, what is the right size of PV capacity you want to install. And then you would also be shocked that beyond energy efficiency also, of course, we have to consider reliability and as well, and also safety. So we've observed from several PV installations, whether utility or residential, that you have a lot of losses where you have connections. So even the MC4 connections, if they're not properly done, you have hotspots there and they result in fire. So you don't want to invest $1 million or have $1 million or $100,000 on a PV plant and it's going on fire because of poor connections. But you can check this at the point of commissioning using instruments from MEGA, and also even on the distribution side, your transformers, you want to check, do proper condition assessment that they're in good shape. And there's a study also that says 65% of all energy produced is used by one form of electric motor or the other. You also want to check how efficiently is this electric motor is running. So do you use equipment from MEGA to check? So just on the final note also to say, to the academia, training also is very important. MEGA is also here. We exist since 1889, so we are more than 100 years old. We are here also to support you. I saw someone from Tumba College. Please feel free. Let's see how we can work together. We also have a large training center from our hand. How can we work together with the tools and the knowledge to also improve on electrical supply and power quality, and also on the long run energy efficiency.
All right. Thank you very much for this very comprehensive answer. Lastly, we have Belete. Maybe could you tell us a bit what's the linkage between pumps and energy efficiency? And also, you have worked on East African-German business relations for over 10 years. Maybe could you share some of your learnings, which might be interesting for the audience and the others? How can German and East African companies cooperate regarding energy efficiency to achieve mutual benefits?
Good one. Good afternoon, and happy Ethiopian New Year. I was trying to say something with my outfit, which I hide with my coat. Today is New Year in Ethiopia, but still the interesting part is it is 2017. So if you pass by Addis, you will be, younger by 8 years. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and then that's why I choose to spend the New Year with you, because I feel like EPD is doing nice thing. This is a place where we can meet also with so many players in this market. Usually, for your question about European companies working in Africa, most of the time it's all about strategy. Africa is not past, or it's not the future, it's the present. So many European companies, they try to access the market in Africa by sitting from Germany or anywhere in the world. And this has to be changed. We feel like we are latecomers. We started a decade ago in East Africa. And we developed so much the last 10 years. And especially we have this regional approach. Most of other companies, they try to sit in South Africa or Egypt to address, the whole region of Africa. We are talking about 1.2 billion people in Africa, and a very vast size area coverage. So that's about the strategy. We came 10 years ago. And the second thing is the global challenge in terms of sustainability is also the Africa challenge. We talk about urbanization, we talk about energy shortage, water shortage, we talk about climate change. And a company like Velo, German companies, we do have high efficient products and smart technologies which alleviate all this challenge. Resource depletion, climate change, and other factors. So in terms of water pumping, especially in Rwanda, where you have a cap of C&I with 50 kilowatt, the most energy efficiency, or looking after energy efficiency, is one of also increasing your profitability by reducing your waste. As you can see from GIZ, they have a different area of topics regarding this. And what we are doing is, we have in Africa many water pumping stations. They don't have operational reliability. They are making loss. And we are trying to support by bringing finance and replacing all these pumps stations and increasing the operational reliability, at the same time saving the cost from the electricity bill, so that even 1 year saving from electricity bill is buying a new pump or returning all investment. So usually it's no-brainer, and we are using this approach especially to create sustainability.
All right. Thank you very much for this answer. MC, do we have time for one question from the audience? All right. Then I would like to open the floor for one question. Does someone have a question regarding energy efficiency or what one of my four panelists has mentioned? No question from the audience. Then I think you must have done a great job in explaining yourselves. Then maybe if one of you would like to add something to what another person has mentioned to wrap it up in 1 minute.
Okay, so basically I'm just saying we are here as Mega to partner with you. So if you're an energy developer, if you're in the academia, if you're in the industry, we have solutions for you and the requisite skills. So please, let's network, and I'm really happy to be part of this. Also, for me, what I'm taking away, yesterday from SLS, I had battery as a service. So that was the first time I would hear that. And of course, even to check the health of this battery along its years, to do internal resistance, capacity testing, you would use tools from Mega. So really, I'm very excited, and yeah, I know we'll do great stuff together in Rwanda.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, so to summarize, I think it has come out quite clearly that at the one side, when we look at energy, we have to look at generation and push for renewable energy, but we also have to look at consumption and try to reduce energy waste. And if we combine the two, that way we can achieve sustainable growth. So thank you very much again to my panelists for highlighting this. Please, another round of applause, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you to the panelists for the productive discussions. Energy efficiency is an interesting topic and one that has great potential in the coming few years ahead of us. So we have one more panel discussion before we go for our lunch break. I hope you guys are interested in listening to more of what our panelists or the audience, the panelists in the audience have to discuss. So let me, without further ado, without wasting time, call upon the moderator of this next panel discussion, which is on bridging continents, the role of the global renewable centers in facilitating North-South energy knowledge exchange. And the moderator is Chikuku Katebe, to come forward and moderate this panel discussion.
Thank you, moderator. So as mentioned, my name is Chikuku Katebe, and I'm from Zambia. I'm representing Zambia Renewable Energy Association, but with a GRC, and I'll be moderating the session for today. So today we'll be discussing bridging continents, the role of the global renewable centers in facilitating North and South energy knowledge exchange. So allow me to introduce the panelists for today. So first, we are going to have Mr. Damien Frem from the University of Strathclyde. Please welcome Mr. Damien. Okay. Second, we'll have Mr. Serge Muhizi from EPD, our host. Please welcome Mr. Serge. And thirdly, we'll have Mr. Pritchard Mukuka from Zambia Renewable Energy Association. Please welcome. And then we're going to have Mr. Brave Muone from Renewable Energy Industry Association of Malawi. Welcome. Okay. So I believe you've seen most of them, and most of them have been on the stage, but I will allow, okay, just one moment. Okay, thank you for that. So you've seen most of them on the stage, they've spoken before, but I'll give a chance to Mr. Brave to briefly introduce himself before we can continue with the discussion. So over to you.
Thank you and good afternoon. I know lunch is about to come, so everyone is anxious to be here. My name is Brave Mohoni, and I'm coming from Malawi. I am the president of Renewable Energy Industries Association of Malawi. Outside the association, I'm also the general manager of Solar Aid, which is a charity based in the UK, but it owns a social enterprise which is operating in Africa. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so we'll dive straight into our questions, and the first question is for Mr. Damien Frame. So in what ways can the audience, particularly those from the private sector and academia, engage with GRC to further their own goals in renewable energy and climate action? And maybe before you can dive into answer that question, just explain a little bit about what GRC is all about to the audience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chikuku. So the Global Renewable Centre is about knowledge exchange. I hope that message has come through over the last few days, and the importance that we place on that. It's been set up with funding, seed funding from the Scottish Government, and the Scottish Government have 4 partner countries: Rwanda, Zambia and Malawi. So that's your 4 countries represented on the stage today. There is a sort of decentralised hub structure. So at Strathclyde University, we are the hub in Scotland, and we've partnered with EPD in Rwanda, Zarina in Zambia, and Riama in Malawi to act as the hubs. So how can you in the audience, academia, private sector best engage? And the answer to that is through your hub. And in Rwanda, that is EPD. So I would encourage you to engage with EPD. We've heard a lot today and in other days, in the last few days of the conference, about capacity building. We've also heard about research, the need for research, research that collaborates between industry, academia, civil society, and does so multidisciplinary but also internationally. And we've heard about the need for more collaboration. So if you as private sector or academia or as individuals engage with EPD and help them collate the need, so for capacity building, where are there good opportunities or priorities or things that need to be done? Or where are there great examples of things that have been done and should be replicated? Industry or academia, where are your research priorities? Where would you like to see research happening? Where would you like to participate in research? Partnership opportunities, where would you like to collaborate and who with? And not just in Scotland. Scotland doesn't have to be part of the picture. We've had lots of great conversations, I think already this week, between organisations that are active in Rwanda and see an opportunity to work in Zambia or to work in Malawi. So EPD can make those connections to Zarina and to Riama and help you find the right contacts and inform you of the right way to go about making that happen. So that's the short answer. Engage with EPD, help us as a group, the GRC group of partners, understand where your needs are, where your interests are, and from there we can then start to bring together those partnerships and look for funding opportunities that allow us to make those things happen.
Thank you so much for that. So we can see that there's a huge opportunity in this, and so as Damien has mentioned, we encourage each one of you to get involved with EPD and find out more about GRC. Yes, the next question is going to Mr. Brave, and it reads, what are the most significant benefits you've observed from international partnerships, particularly in addressing renewable energy challenges that might be too big for one country to tackle alone? And then thereafter, you can give your experience with GRC. Can you share some of the tangible outcomes that have resulted from your engagement with this platform?
Thank you very much for that question. First of all, I'd say, when we're looking at energy challenges, we don't have to think and limiting our thinking based on the geographical boundaries. The problems are the same. You go to Malawi, Zambia, Tanzania, whatever you can think of, it's the same. We're talking about the same topics that we're discussing in here. So when also thinking about the solutions to these problems, let's also not limit based on the geographical demarcations. Let's not think of only for Rwanda. What can work in Rwanda? Why just pollinate it to Malawi? Of course, adjust it to local context, but don't have to be doing the same research that is being done in Rwanda on EV, for example. It's the same vehicle, the same market. So being part of the GRC, it has exposed a lot of opportunities where we can cross-pollinate solutions because we are dealing with exactly the same problems in different geographical contexts. So it's the same. In terms of the tangible outcomes, since we got engaged with GRC, one thing I can clearly see for Malawi is reduced cost on doing some of the repetitive research. I think we've seen a lot of presentations here on EV. A takeaway already is to engage with the local companies which are also getting into EV, probably the city council management teams as well. What are you thinking about EV adoption in Malawi? Can we already start thinking about the infrastructure development to encourage the developers invest in the EV, for example? So for me to get this kind of like insights is out of these engagements that we're having with different people, and we've managed to do this because of the platform that the GRC has brought to us. So it's really getting deep into the issues, finding the solutions, and then just trying to transfer that into our own context. Secondly, is fostering collaboration. I think you have seen this panel from Zambia, Malawi, Tanzania. For those who were here last night, we danced a lot in here, but one thing that caught my attention was not the dancing itself. It's about the variety of people on that platform. People who came together to enjoy together. On the back of that, there was lots of very, very practical and useful conversations that came out of it, which now will turn into projects which will now benefit our communities. So it's about those meaningful collaboration and action-oriented collaboration. And then widening scope of our member benefits. REAMA needs members to run. EPD needs members to run. Zarena needs members to run. If a member from Rwanda wants to set up in Malawi, why can't we have a strategic collaboration as sector players, these associations, where in Malawi, as long as you're a member of IPD and you want to extend your business in Malawi, REAMA should be forefront to help you settle in quickly and at a low cost, because we know our market, we know the network local, you don't have to spend getting to a new country, but that needs a strategic collaboration as associations from different countries. So that will benefit our members in all these geographies. So it's having that widening scope of benefits to our members. I mean, I can go on and on and on. There's so many things.
Oh, yeah.
I'll stop there.
Thank you. So we see that there are a lot of opportunities, right, and there are a lot of benefits. So I'll ask the same question to Mr. Pritchard Mukuka.
Okay, thank you so much. So like Brave said, I think there's a lot of opportunities and benefits for international collaboration. So without repeating what he said, I think to me what stands out the most is the learnings like for example, in Zambia, we are having this energy problem, which is caused by the climate change. So, but it's not the first time this is happening in other regions. And we've seen, for example, in South Africa, they were hit first, and then other countries also are having the similar problem. So this international collaboration presents lessons that we can learn from what other countries are doing. And I've been on a number of forums in Zambia, but most of the time you'd find that these problems that you are discussing as a country, you are just amongst yourselves and you're just sharing your own knowledge. There's no benchmarking, and you're not able to make reference to anything that other people have done. So there's a lot of repetition that is happening and a lot of working in silos. But when you have opportunities for international collaboration, you tackle these renewable energy challenges holistically, because you can even develop plans that can border in the regions. So this also helps to create some knowledge exchange opportunities, whereby you are able to collaborate and then harvest all these opportunities. Now, speaking to the GRC program, one of the things that I've observed is that it's unique in the sense that it's not only bringing the solutions from Europe or the West, but I think it encourages the true spirit of Pan-Africanism, because you're actually learning from the other African countries like Rwanda and also Malawi. For us as Zambia, through Zarina, we are learning from the industry association within Africa, but of course bringing in the spice of the Scottish experience. So as a country in Zambia, for example, I can recall one event we had the workshop at the Kafue Gorge Regional Training Center. And then in that experience, through that experience, we had the regulators, the people from the Energy Regulation Board who came, and then they were enlightened about the energy regulations that are happening in Malawi, because we had speakers from Malawi who came, and then they shared their experiences, especially that we are trying to open up the market and increasing the threshold of regulations. So to me, that was a very outstanding platform. And then through the same GRC, we are also trying to create some demo projects in Zambia. So these are some of the opportunities that we have been able to harness as a country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pritchard. I'll ask the same question to Mr. Sage Muhizi.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Serge Olson Muhizi, and I'm from Rwanda, the CEO of EPD. Regarding the GRC platform, I'm not going to repeat what my colleagues have already touched base, because it's something that is very tangible. We can all see it with our eyes. We have been experiencing the outcomes of what GRC has been doing. I'm talking about this project since we've joined this project. But the most part of thing that I would like to touch base is since EPD have joined this platform, first and foremost, our main focus as EPD was to see how we can benefiting from this cross-border energy trade and integration. Before we joined this platform, I was not in touch with colleagues from Malawi and Zambia, and also colleagues from Scotland. But today, we can be able to send our private sector to go to those 3 countries freely. So we have already, let's call them our ambassadors in those 3 countries. We believe again that our companies cannot struggle, to get more information and connect to those markets. I remember last time when we met with colleagues through the GRC invitation in Scotland. So they made a presentation on the productive use. Actually, that's why we have called them to come and to make a presentation about the productive use, because they are more advanced in that area. So I can see more opportunity for the private sector, because that's our main focus as EPD, to see how we can send our investors in those 3 countries. So there's a lot that's
companies from Rwanda can still contributing in those three countries by availing the current technologies and also by learning more from how far they are and see how we can bring those technology home here in Rwanda. Again, there is another area of knowledge sharing. So I believe again that from these countries, there are some areas that Rwanda is somehow advanced, but also there are other areas that we seem somehow behind. So we can still exchange in that area, and we have already started working with those key areas. So there's a lot that I can touch base, but I don't want to go, to repeat what my colleagues have already mentioned. But we have seen, a lot of achievement through this network. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that in-depth explanation. Okay, so the next question is, what challenges have you encountered in international collaborations, and how did you overcome them to achieve the shared goals? So this question is for Mr. Brave.
Thank you very much. I think I'd say at the moment, it's the collaboration beyond bilateral trade arrangements that our countries already have. I think there is some granularity to the problems that different countries are facing, but we are not aligned on how we are tackling those problems. As a result, we're having different sector players who are doing their own part, duplicating efforts, and resulting to wastage of resources. It's happening a lot, especially in our continent, because there are so many opportunities, and everyone wants to be seen that they are doing something about that challenge, right? And then they're just doing that in silence, on their own corner. Now, to bring these people together who are already locked up in their mind that this is what we're doing and this is how we see things working, but someone is doing exactly the same stuff on another corner, they're just duplicating the efforts. To bring those two together, it's becoming a challenge. And I think part of the GRC, this is one of the things that as associations, we need to see how best we can bring sector players together, align what they are doing, and try to be more efficient with the resources so that we're deploying them in the right places, driving the right actions, right? But to bring them together, that's a challenge on its own, because they're already locked up in their own business models, in their own project plans, in their own commitments to where they're getting the funding from. There are so many chains, which makes them inflexible. We're talking about banks. I mean, we've been trying to talk to banks to bring them on the table, for example, flex some systems to suit the emerging energy markets, for example. But there's people have discussed these things already. There are so many blocks. So what we want now is to find a way on how to eliminate these blocks and bring everyone together with open mind, regardless of where we are coming from, and really look into one problem, different solutions solving one problem. We want to eliminate energy poverty in Africa, and that's our goal. So let's forget about where we're getting the money from, what the blocks are out there. Money should not rule what we do. The solutions that we have should rule where the money should go. So I think that's the challenge, is about alignment, bringing everyone together to truly focus on solving one problem that we have in Africa, poverty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brave. So the same question I'll ask Mr. Pritchard Mokuka.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And I think just like Mr. Brave said, I think working in silos is what I've identified to be the biggest problem. That's in terms of international collaboration. But from my perspective, I think it's more about also data sharing, and also just having the reliable and accurate data. So for example, you, as a private company, you might want to go into another market, but then how do you have access to that information? How do you even know what they're doing? Most of the time, this data is odd. I can speak for Zambia, for example. The last energy access survey that was done was 10 years ago. So even up to date, we are still using data from 10 years ago. The electrification rates, access rates, everything is odd. So sometimes you find that if this data is available and it's in good shape and shared, then it can create an opportunity for other countries to also be able to learn. So for the GRC program, one thing I know for instance, is that there's a plan to create a platform where this database can be made available, and you're able to even know what companies are doing what, in what space, and this is going to create an opportunity where you can actually have collaboration, and you can have different companies come together to work in the same shared space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mkuka. Then I'll give you a chance for Mr. Serge also to give his answer.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. One thing that I would like to mention regarding the challenge, sometimes is misaligned priorities of or interest. So you'll find sometime when you have a partner, maybe they want to implement a kind of a copy paste of maybe what they have in their own country or the priority that they have in their project. Instead of considering the local context of the beneficiaries. This is one of the challenges that we have been facing since different partners that we have been receiving and in different period, but which is very different from the GRC in this north-south collaboration. So it's something very important. I believe that every partners and every country, they have their own context and they have their own challenges. So if there can be, this kind of communications between both partners before implementing any kind of project, and considering mostly the voice or the contribution of who is going to benefit from this project is something very, very important. This is one of the challenge that we have been facing, but for the GRC program, I remember for the first time when we had this discussion, when EPD joined this partnership, the question from our partner from GRC was, what do you want us to support you? What are the gaps that you have in the private sector? And all the activities that you can see today, be it in the capacity building, in the knowledge exchange, and different workshops that you have been doing, advocacy program that we have been engaging in. This was the initiative from Rwanda. This was the initiative from the private sector, which again, I would like to say thank you for them. So if all partners also can take into consideration on the gaps that we have, we as the beneficiaries, is something that can advance, all this program and can make, all this program to become more and more successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
And just to add a little bit on that theme, I've noticed over the years, in many occasions, there might be a funding call, particularly in academic circles, that's got a global engagement aspect to it. And what happens is the profs in the various different academic institutions scurry around suddenly looking for partners in the countries that are relevant. And that doesn't work. And the proposals are not very good and quite often not funded, and even if they are funded, I'm skeptical about their end output. So that's something that we hope we can encourage or change slightly through this program, and my suggestion to engage early. So the more that we can engage early and establish conversations, when funding opportunities come about, then the relationships are already there. And the priorities have been well understood. So I think that's something that we really want to focus on going forward.
Thank you so much, Damien. Then the third question is, how do you see the GRC program playing a role in fostering these international collaborations? And how can organizations, governments, or individuals from the audience get involved with GRC to contribute to and benefit from its collaborative efforts? So I will allow Damien to go first to answer this question. Thanks.
I feel like I might have actually already answered some of that earlier. So in the interests of time, I might just pass on, if that's okay, if you'll permit me.
Yes, Mr. Serge.
Thank you very much. Number one is GRC has been providing a platform for dialogue and networking. Since we have started this, I think we've managed to bring together more than 700 stakeholders. I'm talking about the private sector, academia, civil society. We have also policymakers and development partners, and today we have also Rwanda environment journalists, which really is really a good success, which we believe, again, as we are moving forward, soon we are going to have journalists who are going to have that specializations in the environment coverage. So this is really a great thing that we can say that we are really proud of. Number two is promoting knowledge sharing. We have been, exchanging between different stakeholders and also companies. Through these GRC programs, we've got enough time and a lot of opportunity for companies to exchange between them. Today, as you have already seen, we have a network from Germany Chamber of Industry, the panel who just end up, the discussion. So they are coming from different parts. I believe that through this kind of discussion, Rwandan's company got enough time to connect, and maybe we can have some deals that we can get out of this kind of networking. So number two is facilitating policy, facilitating policy alignment advocacy. Through this partnership again and the stakeholders engagement workshop that we had, we got enough time to advocate to different policy bottlenecks that we still have here on the market, not only for Rwandan market, but also other countries, partners that we are together in this GRC program. So there's a lot that we have been advocating for, and we believe, again, that company today, they are very happy because we have been, raising the voice about different challenges that the companies are facing today. And the good side of it, our government, they have started working on in those areas, and we believe that very soon we can get a positive feedback from them. Again, is enabling access to resources and funding. Through this kind of engagement, again, we've managed to bring for the first time the banking sector, to bring them on board today. Before, maybe some of our seniors that we have here in the room, in the energy sector, they know it very well. It was very difficult, to sit with a banking sector representative, I'm talking about the financial institutions, and to tell them about the energy sector. So it was very, very difficult. But today, you can see them on the panel, starting, brainstorming about different product that they can avail, to support the private sector, which also is a success for us. And we have already some of the banks, the local banks, who have already started, launching some of the equi-green products that the private sector is going to start benefiting from. So I can listing, a very long list of achievements that we have been working on, we have achieved through this partnership. But let me stop by there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So due to the interest of time, I believe there's no room for questions. Okay, so MC has said no, we are not going to allow any questions, but in case you have any burning questions or you're interested to join and see how you can get involved, we have a booth outside, or you can just see one of us and then we'll be able to explain to you about what we are all about. So thank you so much to the panelists for explaining so well, and thank you to the audience also for paying attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chikuku, and the rest of the panelists for discussing such an important topic on knowledge sharing amongst and sharing ideas on the different ways that knowledge can be shared. So I think now we are done with the items on agenda before networking lunch. So now it's time for the networking lunch, but before we proceed to the networking lunch, I will ask my colleague Marie-Ange to come forward and make some announcements. So we'll have the networking lunch from now it's Now it's 1:30, so we should be able to come back at around 2:15. So let me call my colleague forward to make some announcements. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm not going to take much of your time, but I want to talk about tomorrow's site visit. We are going to Rusumo, and other people are going to Pure. I'm talking to the people who registered. For Rusumo, we are going to meet here at 6:30 a.m. And then there are buses that are going to head there. And then for the people who are going to visit sites in Kigali, in Pure, they are going to meet here at 8:30. The second announcement is in the afternoon, we have an interesting session, workshop session about climate finance, carbon credits. If you want to know more about carbon credit and how you can make money with it, please, you are welcome to the workshop that is going to be given by experts from United Kingdom and Randy's team that works in REMA. Please, it's going to be an interesting afternoon. We request you to be here. And at time, we have an hour from lunch until here, so please be here at time. And the third one is the active members of EPD have a board meeting after the session of today. I think it will be 5. Also, in this room, please, active members, make it at time so that we end up the day earlier to prepare for tomorrow's visit. Thank you so much. Enjoy your meal.
Hopefully build business out of it going forward. So in the afternoon, we have one item on the agenda, fortunately. It's more of a knowledge sharing session. And the knowledge sharing session is about mainly carbon credits, climate finance, promoting climate justice. So this is, I think for many of you, is an interesting area. It's an area that you can learn a lot from. And this afternoon, we are fortunate to have experts that have knowledge in these 3 areas that I have mentioned, and are going to share knowledge and provide some kind of capacity building this afternoon. So the experts include Jean Azinda, who is seated right there. We have Haman Hakuzimana and Desire Ruragaragaza. So we'll start with, we are starting with Jean Azinda to come and make a presentation and share knowledge on his area of expertise. I think that's mainly on carbon credits. Then Jean Azinda will be followed by Desire Ruragaragaza to also make a presentation on climate, how to promote climate justice. Then we'll have the last presentation from Haman Hakuzimana on basically explaining more on climate finance. So without further ado, let me invite Jean Azinda to come forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see you and so honored to be part of the Energy Week, the 4th edition. I'm here to talk about the carbon market, and carbon market and energy are kind of two sectors that has been married for quite long. There is a very long history between the two sectors, and I'm here to take you through a little bit the different stages of these two sectors and see how it contributed to the global cause that many countries, both from South and West and East, have really struggled to have a common ground on it. But before, I would like to introduce myself in a little bit detailed way. I'm Jean Hazinda. I identify myself as a climate finance expert. I've been in this sector for now more than a decade and a half. Supported the introduction of a carbon market in Rwanda back in the days, and also assisted the private sector in development of carbon market components of their energy projects, be energy generation or energy efficiency. I've also worked on carbon finance and climate finance, targeting NGOs, international NGOs and local NGOs that needed to mobilize mostly resources that can help beneficiaries to adapt to the effects of climate change. Today I'm going to, do I know how to maneuver this? Yeah, today I'm going to talk about these points. I'll talk about what was the reason behind it to start the carbon market, and what are the conventions or the international policy level agreements that really, directed the efforts of different players. I'll also talk about the mechanism that really helped the carbon market to run, and then talk about the current situation, which is now governed by the Paris Agreement. And then lastly, talk about the very important article of the Paris Agreement, which is the Article 6. Now, everything started with the Kyoto Protocol. The Kyoto Protocol is an initiative that came into force in the 90s to help in having the industrialized countries in reduction of their level of polluting the atmosphere. But for some reasons, African states that by then were not contributing to the global warming had a passive role because they were like vulnerables. And, developed countries really played their role, but results were really, really minimal. But the target that was so ambitious with the 5.2% in a course of an estimated 5 years was too ambitious when all of the countries globally were not participating. But there was a voluntary participation for countries that African countries normally got engaged into through a number of assistance from the developed countries. What was curious was leaving behind China and India and other members of the emerging countries out of the being active in the reduction of the emissions, like there were no obligation. So that led to really bad results. So those are the countries that signed. I would say that, as you can see, there were many, but few of them were participating in an active way. So very quickly then, the Kyoto Protocol had committed to reducing 29% compared to the levels of the emissions compared to the start of the the level of industrialization. And the goal was really unrealistic. This came clear and practical when it actually expired in 2020, that the target was too high. Now, the whole reason was that these greenhouse gases you see, mainly there are 6, naturally into the atmosphere. They are there to regulate the level of radiations that the sun releases and block the radiation going back. But with the human activity, the block became more compact and the temperature rise. And that created global warming. So the Kyoto Protocol was all about to reduce the level of global warming. I don't want to take much time on the global warming potential, but all you can retain from this slide is that the CO2, which is like the measurement unit, has one ton of CO2 is the measurement unit for the rest of other greenhouse gases. We would see that methane has, I'd say, 21, and nitrous oxide has 310, and so forth. So for those interested in reducing the greenhouse gases, the emissions would be targeting the greenhouse gas that has the higher global warming potential. You'll be making like a very big effort in saving the planet. Now, the implementation mechanism of the Kyoto Protocol included the CDM, the Clean Development Mechanism, that allowed the developed countries to initiate projects in their countries and then have them implemented elsewhere or inside the country and reduce the emissions, or pay developing countries that are voluntary, that has nothing to reduce, and get entitled to the emissions reduced. That exchange between the effort made by a developing country and a country that has a lot of emissions to reduce is what we called the carbon market. I'll be like, I've reduced emissions through implementation of a clean project. It can be a renewable energy project development. And I've cut, let's say, 100 tons of CO2, And I have no obligation to reduce the emissions. So for you, you need to reduce, but you couldn't make it. Then you come, you buy my certificates at a determined price, and then you report the certificates to the Convention on Climate Change, and then you have a balanced target for you. So you can see there are participating parties in this mechanism. The CDM are a developed country and a developing country. But you can still, the developed countries could still do the project inside their country and show that though they emitted, but they also made a clean project that also reduced more than they emitted. So this mechanism focused mainly on mitigation, like reducing emissions, and also allowing capacity building in developing countries. Because, you know, developing countries judge themselves as so vulnerable to something that they didn't participate in creating the chaos or the global warming, but still get more effects than the developed countries. They needed technology or skills to adapt to the effects. So the mechanism under the Kyoto Protocol recommended that they should allow developing countries to have new technologies that would help them to adapt. You can see there, after 2020, the Kyoto Protocol got expired, and there was a need of a new mechanism. That new mechanism that is still into effect now is the Paris Agreement. Something that was so exciting to hear because it had a lot of benefits for Africa, Latin America, and other developing countries and the small states and islands that finally had received a role that is not passive or voluntary, but also had a chance to claim financing to adapt to the effects that the climate change were causing. So a number of countries signed, like many of them signed, excluding some countries that are really dependent on fossil fuel. Those include Libya, Iran, Eritrea, and some other countries. The US later on walked out of the agreement because US was not benefiting economically, or I don't know. So the Paris Agreement that got adopted in 2015 had a very reasonable target compared to the Kyoto Protocol. It had a 1.5 degree Celsius to cut. And that target also included the other members of the world that were left behind by the Kyoto Protocol. So this was more or less comprehensive and reasonable. Now, what was so exciting was the adaptation part of the agreement that would help mostly African countries and other developing countries to get funding. We will see that in the Article 6 clauses in terms of adapting to the droughts, flooding, landslides, and other effects of climate change. So the Paris Agreement had also like different stages. Like, when should we evaluate ourselves that we are on the right track? So by 2030, the emissions needed to be cut by 40%, 45%. and then reach the net zero, like compared to the period before the industrial development started, that by 2050 we'll be at net zero. Like the whole planet will be like as clean or polluted as it was before. So this is considered still as ambitious though, but there is a lot of initiatives that is actually leading to that target. We don't know whether the world will make it or not. So that catch toward net zero is something that people expect that the local contribution, the regional contribution, and the global contribution would likely lead to that target, and that would be at different levels from policy development, implementation plans, midterm strategies, project and programs development and implementation, and also mobilizing resources, leaving no one behind, like bringing all different players together, including the private sector, the civil society, and the governments, to do different efforts to have this achieved. So we will see now the mechanism, as the Kyoto Protocol had a mechanism to implement the protocol. Let's now see what is the mechanism to help this Paris Agreement be achieved. So the Paris Agreement has different articles, but what is interesting to us this afternoon is Article 6. Article 6 that had focused on only 3 clauses. Clause 2, 4, and 8, we will see that later on. But this article normally allows for a great variety of different approaches. It helps in terms of like allowing countries between themselves from the same hemisphere, they can deal, or different hemispheres, north and south, they can deal, or they can also deal through the UN Convention on Climate Change. That's a different approaches. And it also allows countries to have their own target and revise them every 5 years to see whether their level of commitment is not harming their development, or if they want to reduce or increase, if they want to change sectors. Let's say Rwanda has been focusing much more on energy in terms of reducing emissions, but later on they realized that the agriculture sector was really also emitting a lot, and they want to change that, you know. So there is a flexibility in terms of how much you commit from which sector by when. And it also helped in, you know, creating a network, an international network that help cooperation between countries. And it would accelerate the reductions of emissions in a quicker way compared to the Kyoto Protocol. Now, let's clearly see the difference between the 3 clauses, 6.2 and 6.4, and then lastly 6.8. 6.2 is so interesting to an extent that countries, like developed countries that are used to be subject to receiving directives from the developed countries telling them you need to do this way, the standard you are using should be international, transferred to you, sometimes when they are not adapted to the local context, and so forth. So this 22 allows countries to develop their own standard, to develop their own procedures, to develop their own templates, to develop their own approval process so that you can develop a carbon credits, get approved locally, and then later on look for a buyer and you negotiate an agreement between another country that wants to achieve its national determined contribution without any interference of a multilateral or international agencies or a UN agency or any other bilateral, I would say, party. So that's a market-based mechanism under the 6.2. Now the 6.4 is a kind of hybrid. It combines market, like you can trade your reduced emissions, but you can also ask for adaptation support. And for you to get that, you need to have the UNFCCC to be in between. That means that, we'll see that later on, that means that in the whole project cycle, there will be an additional step to go to have kind of approval from the UNFCCC. But for the first ones, you finish it between the buyer and the seller. I mean, the developer of the project, the host country, and the buyer, the one that needs to reduce emissions or to achieve its national determined contribution. Now, the third one, which is non-market, non-market means whatever I've been saying about selling carbon credits, buying them and so forth, that's what we call, in a very simple terms, carbon finance. Like, you've reduced emissions, you want to sell them. That's a carbon finance. This 6.8, that's what we call climate finance. It's like you've got financing to help you deal with the climate change issues. So there is a provision under the Paris Agreement that helps developing countries to get adaptation financing, to get financing that help them in creating resilience, in rebuilding their capacity to cope with the climate change effects. I would highlight an example of one of the funds under the Paris Agreement, which is the Green Climate Fund, that has financing for developing countries to adapt to the effects of climate change. You can also use that funding should you want to develop a hybrid project that reduces emissions, but at the same time helping the beneficiaries or the vulnerable communities to adapt to the climate change. Now, the meaning of Article 6 is like for the African countries specifically, Article 6 has a very great meaning because it contributes to the country's targets in terms of reducing emissions. It also contributes to the population adaptation to the effects of climate change. It also helps in allowing the countries, the developing countries, to be more active, or also to have a say in a design of a program and its implementation. It's not like you have a ready food and they tell you eat. No, you know how the food will taste because you participated in its preparation. And it also gives the flexibility in deciding what the countries want. And it also gives a chance for the countries to use voluntary carbon-based markets that can allow in trading the emissions. Now, how does a carbon market project cycle look like under the Paris Agreement? It's kind of quite similar to the classic CDM1, but this one will be more simplified and quicker. It would take less than 6 months, when the cycle under the Kyoto Protocol would take more than 2 years to have a full cycle done. So an initiator of a project, you see the light blue, will be responsible for screening whatever sector wants to be invested in, and then just develop a concept, then later on produce a detailed document that has the whole rationale, has a methodology of the emission reductions, has a monitoring plan, has everything, and then have a validation. The more darker blue, the validation is done by an accredited auditor, an auditor that is certified. And under this Paris Agreement, you can combine validation and verification to reduce the cost that you pay for the auditor. And I want also to underline that under this project cycle, under the Paris Agreement, you can also have a local auditor. You are the one to decide this is the standard we have. You are the one to decide that these are the level of approval we want. So, and we will be the one to certify carbon credits. Whoever wants them will buy them. You won't need to pay an international verifier or validation expert to come from India, China, North America, or Europe, paying expensive tickets and hotels. Maybe this project cycle is more cost effective than the former one. And then the yellow boxes are for the administrator, are for the regulator that approves the project and then register it, and then later on approve the issuance of the carbon credits. The issuance means like, here are your certified carbon credits, you're ready to sell them. And later on then you need to go through an approval process for the transfer. That is an additional step compared to the Kyoto Protocol mechanism that gives chance for countries to make sure that the reduced emissions are not sold, all of them, outside the country, and then later on fail to achieve the NDCs, the National Determined Contribution. That was under the market-based, the Article 6.2. The Article 6.4 is quite similar to this, but it will only include 1 or 2 steps because it involves the UN agencies to approve. Because you need the climate financing that would complement the carbon financing part of it. Like, you need free money coming from the climate funds, adaptation fund, the green climate fund, climate investment fund, global environment facility, to come and blend with the emissions certificates you sold. So that is the only difference. Now, let's see the benefits against risk. Let's start with the benefits. The Article 6 has a lot of benefits. You know, it's so economic benefit. It really, you know, it allows developing countries, including Rwanda and many African countries, to get financing, to get foreign investment coming into the country to support some of the sectors that were initially lagging behind. It contributes to the local targets and international targets. Like in Rwanda, it contributes to achieving the NST1, now it's NS2, but it also contributes in achieving the SDGs and so forth. It allows capacity building, and then also makes a country achieve its target quite in a, like a quicker way, and also make a country like replicating what has been done somewhere else. That's something that has a provision for. But there is a number of risks under this Paris Agreement. You transfer your outcomes, like you transfer what you've achieved to another country. That means there will be a country that may end up having a overselling of the achievements, and then later on you become a failure. So that's one of the risks. Like I can achieve my NDC targets, but because of overselling the emission reductions, then I report 0. So that's a very big risk. There is actually something that is under development now to help in avoiding overselling the outcomes, the mitigation outcomes. And another thing is that some projects will not be additional. Additional means a project should have an additionality capacity. Like a project should justify that. Without the carbon market component, that project wouldn't be possible. But under this Paris Agreement, sometimes there will be more focusing on helping countries to get financing in assisting populations or communities to build their resilience, and not focus much more on reducing the emissions. So the rationale of some projects will be not that much convincing as it was previously. Another thing is that the mitigation activities would be outside the scope of achieving the NDCs. Like the initiatives by private sector would be like for the interest of the private sector, not necessarily contributing to what the government has committed. Maybe energy, let's say the energy efficiency is not what the government has included in the NDC, and private sector here sees that that's where the profit is. It's it requires less investment and bringing a return on investment that is higher. So there is a possibility that the mitigation activities are likely to be outside the scope of the NDCs. Another thing is that mitigation activities may not capture, may not be considered in the national inventory, which is another big risk for the commitment of countries that has to be reporting on a regular basis to the UNFCCC through the national communication that happens every 5 years. Now, for private sector, civil society, and public engagements to participate in the Paris Agreement implementation, there is a readiness process or capacity that needs to be in place. So I just wanted to highlight a few points that a country needs to have in a place. So there is a need for a country to develop an approach or a strategy that will help in authorization and having a participation requirements, because it's not everyone that should come and participate, or it's not anyhow that people will participate. So you need authorization criteria for participation, and you also need the requirements. And you need to have activity developments. You need to highlight whoever wants to participate, in which sectors do we think that these are really priorities and are appropriate. So you need to have that in a place. You also need to have a way of verifying and monitoring what participants are doing. Are they doing it accurately? Are they being efficient? Will their effort be effective? You need to have that. Another thing which is very important is infrastructure. You need an infrastructure in place so that you know how to avoid duplication of effort or overlapping interventions. And then lastly, you need to have a very good regulatory and institutional framework and a legal framework that will help both players to, have return on investment, but also for you to be complying locally and internationally. Basically, that's what I was explaining. And I want to finish with some of the limitation of the Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement gives a lot of more flexibility. When you are a father in a house and you give a lot of flexibility, some kids will come home late, maybe after midnight, or some of them will not do their household task. Like, no one will be really responsible. That's the first limitation. It also creates a different set of rules. Like, there is like a whole bunch of rules which might end up confusing, countries. It will also impact some of the employment opportunities around the world, because there are some sectors that are being out of business. Like, the fossil fuel area is, they are reducing the use of petrol-based products and so forth. And you can imagine, like in Gatata, how many mechanics will lose their jobs because of it's just unplug and plug for batteries. We have now electric cars and so forth. But that's okay. Probably some other jobs will be created. That was an issue. Another thing is that the gap between 2030 and 2050, as we reach to the net zero, is not realistic. It's it's so massive. And the financing to achieve everything, it's not realistic. I would say that by 2050, I don't think Rwanda will have mobilized $11 billion. That's only Rwanda, and we are one of the smallest economy. So imagine mobilizing $11 billion. So that's one of the, it's not that realistic. So we don't know how much emissions we need to cut by then. I would like to thank you so much for your participation and attention. Again, I'm Jean Hazinda. I am an expert in climate finance. I support private sector I would really love to hear from you when you need someone to take you through the whole process, developing a carbon credit component for your investment. We will learn a lot through my expert who is coming next to talk about the framework, the national framework that will help players to participate in the implementation of Paris Agreement, but more specifically in participating in the implementation of Article 6.2, 4, and 8. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Muraho neza, muguwe neza. Very glad to hear that. Yes, my name is Desiree Rwagaragaza. I'm going to continue talking about the carbon market systems and climate justice. I'm part of the group that came from Scotland, the GRC, the Global Renewable Center, and at the same time, I'm the founder of Energy, Mining, and Law, which you can find at energyminelex.com. I have more than 25 or 26 years as an advocate, as a lecturer, as a commercial or corporate lawyer, whichever hat you want to put me on. I'm here now to discuss about carbon market systems and climate justice. I'm very honored to be here and to be invited by GRC and EDP. I'm very honored to be here. Yes, let us continue this discussion. I'm not going to talk about the national framework because Herman was going to talk about the national framework. But I'm going to discuss a little bit about the process. What is the quality, the high quality, the features of the carbon market? I'm going to talk about how the process is run and some steps that you need to understand how to approach the national framework, the person who is over there. Not sure how it works. Yes. Good. Let us see this. Who, before the CDM, thought that this kind of emissions could create this amount of money? 110 trillion by 2050 dollars. The market is big. Since the market is big, please get ready. Money is there. Get ready and use the finance system, the carbon market system, to get that money. You can get it. Rwanda has already produced more than 60% of green energy. Why don't you look for that money and get it? Jean has already introduced us about Article 6, Article 6.2, 4, and 8, we can do it, and you can do it. So how does it work normally? I use this just to show you how, for example, the emission cap can work. If, for example, let's say the company A, we have a regulator over there, they say you need to cap your emissions to a certain level. If you have to cap the emission at a certain level, it's not working. Yes, see the red line, you cut the emission at that level. If you have to cut the emission at that level, but you are not able to do so, but on the other side, this emitter B has managed to do so, then the amount of emission and the credit that you have received from the regulator will be used in exchange and sold to you. You will be able to sell the amount of you have not used, and then get money from the other guy who did not manage to reduce and cap the emissions under the regulatory system. Now, this can be as well used in CDM, because this can be done either on global stage, and you say, let's say, for example, a Scottish company is just under the UK trading scheme. They are asked to cap their emissions at a certain level. But this is not feasible because there are other parameters they didn't manage to include. In that case, they can come to Rwanda, for example, and buy credit that the regulator has already made available to a company that managed to reduce the emission. That can be done. So this is the carbon market. In that situation, you can get money, and the transactions are free, as Jean has already mentioned, or are under Article 6.4 or under Article 6.8. Now, some people are confused about emission allowances and emission carbon offset. Where is the difference between them? Emission allowances, you are permitted to emit a certain amount of CO2. On the other side, when we are talking about carbon offset, just look at avoidance, look at a reduction or removal. In terms of a regulatory system, there is a government or there is a regulator who has to put in place the rules. On the other hand, it's just a standard. A standard on the other, and we have legal obligations, in different legal obligations between buyers and sellers, and we have at the same time on the other side, it's done on voluntary basis. So if it's done on voluntary basis, which article, for example, are we talking about? We will come back to that because there will be a workshop at the end of the presentation. One needs to understand under which article we are trading. Are we talking about Article 6.2 only? Are we talking about Article 6.4 only? Are we talking about Article 6.8? So this helps understand, it helps us to understand exactly what we are dealing with in terms of Paris Agreement. compliance market is regulated. Here we have a voluntary carbon or sovereign market, and it's reported publicly. This enables transparency. I will come back to that when we are talking about transparency and features of a good carbon market. Then reported or unreported, including the price for avoidance lower than price for removal. When we are talking about price for avoidance is lower than price for removal, it's just about technology, okay? Because the price for avoidance, the price for removal includes, for example, storage captures or other technologies that are required, and that requires investment. Therefore, it will impact on the credit. Sovereign market, I'm not going to talk too much about that because we are dealing with, here we have the private sector, then it's much better that we continue with the private sector rather than going to RED and RED Plus, which is another article 5.2. Probably we will deal that on another day. Normally, talking about carbon market, it will take even a week to discuss that. Now, what are the features then of a high quality carbon offset? It's interesting to see what element you will be considering when you are applying or when you are involved. What element, what kind of features you need to include in your project. He mentioned additionality. Additionality, the carbon offset result has to do something. Avoidance, reduction, or removal. Remember, it's something new that needs to be. You are not going to sell something that exists already. So it's something new. Are you creating something new? Well, is it additional to what we had previously? Yes, it adds something because it's reducing this. Yeah, so that is an additionality. The second point that I want to mention is no double counting. You need to avoid double counting. And at the same time, remember, your project should do no harm to the community around it. Next, the carbon offset result in the it should be permanently avoiding or reducing the CO2. The reason of this is because carbon credit, at the end of the day, at the end of the cycle, they retire. They are removed from circulation. No leakage. There are some people or some companies who are so clever, okay? They build something like a coal power plant, and at the same time, around it, they bring in, okay, a forest, a big forest. Oh yes, we are emitting, but at the same time, we are creating something new, and then they want to claim that money. Smart, but it has been noticed. So leakage, there should be no leakage. Detailed and transparent. I don't know if you have followed the news just this week. On the 6th, the Germany regulator refused to issue carbon credit for some companies in Germany because there was a fraud. Some companies in Germany were asked to cap their emissions, but they didn't manage to, well, they said that they were implementing some project in China. I was wondering even why they chose China. Anyway, then it was found that there was fraud. And that fraud, the regulator, the investigatory system found that it was fraudulent, and then they were not able to issue the carbon credit, and still they continue the investigation because it's a huge amount of money. That included 8 million for each project, 8 million of carbon credit finance. So you understand this it's a huge market. So we need to tap into that. So detailed and transparent. We've got at the same time a strong governance, and they need to be registered. We need to have at the same time strong baseline. I will talk about baseline a wee bit later on, but we need to have a strong baseline, because you are not going to say that you have reduced this amount of CO2, based on what? What kind of study did you do to make sure that you have a baseline, then to show that you have reduced this amount of CO2? You need to have a baseline. Then there is third-party verification. It's a very important aspect. Well, that is when exactly what happened. After the third-party verification, then the German government found that there was a kind of fraud, and then you understand what happened, what followed. Accurate qualification and verification goes in pair with third-party verification, and it has to be, your project has to be Paris Agreement aligned, as already stated. That is even the reason we decided to start from Article 6 to understand much better what we're talking about. There are different types of activities that can be carried out under Paris Agreement, or in terms of carbon market. Yes, there are, according to the CDM, there were 8,000 registered projects, and according to Ecosystem Marketplace, there are at least 170 kind of type of activities. We've got, in terms of categories, we've got forestry and land use, renewable energy that we've been talking about, household and community. We've got chemical and industrial activities, energy efficiency, waste disposal, agriculture, and transportation. So we've been talking about EV. Yesterday we were talking about EV. We need to harness EV money, EV carbon finance, and the money is there if you don't claim it. Don't say tomorrow that you didn't know. We will continue. These are the types of activities that we were talking about, the 170 types of activities. Now, how is it then done? Verification, okay? It can be carried out by different organizations. For example, Abetable carries out quality assessment through own framework. Do you recall Jean talking about some risks associated with Paris Agreement? This is what he was talking about. It's numerous activities carried out by independent verifiers, okay, according to their methodologies. And this is a very big issue. There is as well, we've got buyers as independent that can create as well complexity. Complexity because some buyers use different methodologies, and they say, look, our methodology is the best, and we are not going to buy your credit if you do not use our methodology. When they tell you you do not use our methodology, it means you have as well to use who? Our own verifier. Think about that. Think about Article 6.2. That gives us as well as the regulator, as a nation, you can use your national framework. So the compliance as a regulator, and we've got as well the foreign sovereign market that I'm not discussing right now. And here, if you look at the voluntary market, I was talking about methodologies, okay? You need to look at the eligibility criteria. Even though it's a national framework, think about the eligibility criteria for and from your national framework. Eligibility criteria. Have you validated that? Yes, you carry out validation. Have you registered? And are we maintaining the register? Yes. Is it measured? Yes. Have you reported? Yes. Then is the verification periodical? Yes. What do we have as a transparency mechanism? The rate of access to project. You analyze all of that. The standard here, as I was explaining, we've got, we have, for example, VERA and Gold Standard. We have the American Carbon Registry. We have the Climate Action Reserve and the Plan Vivo Standard, pure. Now, look at how the system is evolving. Amazon is getting there. These guys are so smart. They know where money is. Amazon is getting there. Don't use Amazon right now. Use your national framework. You use your national framework. There are companies that have already used the national framework, and they have their carbon credit on the market under the UNFCCC, UNFCCC. Probably Irma is going to talk about that or give you just an example. Stages of voluntary carbon market. Step. Where do you start from? And what do you need to do? How do you compile all the documents that you need to submit to the regulator? Yes, you've got Jean was talking about project screening. I'm talking about project ideas, okay? And select a carbon offset advisor if you want it, because your company, if you have in place someone who can advise you or an employee in your company, you can use them, and you don't have to use that, it's optional. Then estimate potential tons of CO2 that you are saving, that you are removing, that you are avoiding. Remember, we are on the other side. It's just a voluntary mechanism, avoidance, reduction, removal. We continue. Identification of other potential transaction parties. Then, once you have in mind how you are going to sell your product, you think how much money I'm going to get from that. Then, all necessary project data provided to carbon offset advisor, if any. Then you continue assessment of proposed project. You assess it. After the assessment, there is an identification of selection of appropriate standard. Are you using the Article 6.2? Are you using the Article 6.4? Are you using Article 6.8? The standard you are using can be determined according to Article 6. Very, very important. Are you on voluntary mechanism? Are you compliance mechanism? If you are on compliance mechanism, there is no other standard but the one that has been set by the regulator, and you are done. So, are you on Article 6.2? Is it voluntary? Yes, you can continue. Anyway, this is the process that you have to go through. Then, after all, you can, if anyone wants this presentation, we can share that rather than just continue talking about this. You can read it and you will understand much better the process up to the end when you can say, okay, I'm done and I can sell my product, okay? These are the continuation of the process. I'm not going to go through all of that because the time is running. And you have all of that in place, and you think, what am I going to get from all of that? Is it sufficient for my community? Does it answer the issue of equity and justice? That is the linkage between carbon market and justice. Equity. Are we talking about equity? Who is talking about that equity? Is it a lawyer? Is it a philosopher? Are you a medical doctor? Are you an investor? Or who are you? Sometimes we think about equity and justice depending on who we are and the way we think. So there are different definitions in terms of equity, okay? And how equity works and how it leads us to justice. I can see that some people are a wee bit tired. Let me try to use colors to avoid, yeah. So equity implies justice dimension. There is equality doesn't mean always equity. You have the same, you stand on the same level, but you are not going to see the match over there, the soccer. You are not going to see the match because although you have been given exactly the same standard or the same suitcase to sit on or whatever, but let's go to equity. We understand that someone needs at least to be elevated to be able to watch the match. The boy is elevated and he can see, he can get the support they need. Here, look at the fence on justice aspect. If you look at the fence justice aspect, it means all three can see the game without support or accommodations because the cause of the inequity was addressed. The systematic barrier has been removed. Now, we are thinking about energy. We are thinking about energy and justice. Can carbon market lead us to that energy and justice? I give you this. Think. We have the New York City. New York City, a population of 19.5 million, they are using 2,050 kilowatts per capita. A population of sub-Saharan Africa is 791 million. Sub-Saharan Africa. Look at per capita in terms of kilowatt. 52 kilowatt per capita. And there is 100, remember we started with 110 trillion of carbon market available up to 2050. Can we do something to increase at least a per capita electricity consumption in sub-Saharan Africa using the carbon market system? I'll leave you with this image. Once you go back to this image, to this picture, I think you will think again in terms of carbon credit, and we follow the path and get that money out and increase the electricity consumption in sub-Saharan Africa. I thank you very much for listening to me.
Good afternoon once again. Are you tired? While they are loading the presentation, you can stand up and stretch a bit. Huh? Let's stretch a bit to get energy. Okay, thank you. I'm called Herman Hakuzimana. I work with Rwanda Environment Management Authority as Climate Change Program Manager. I served in different positions at REMA, and I am here to talk about Rwanda Carbon Market Framework. I started working with REMA in 2011. It's now 13 years. And among the positions that I occupied at REMA, I coordinated the DNA Secretariat. DNA is designated national authority. At this time, it was for Clean Development Mechanism, or CDM. I saw some people here that we met in this capacity. And yeah, hopefully they will help me to make the discussion very fruitful. This is the outline. For the introduction on carbon market was done. I think in the interest of time, I will go to the second outline, and we will also share some updates where we are so far since this carbon market framework was adopted. But before I go to the carbon market framework, I would like to recall some of the requirements that my colleague mentioned. For a country to participate in carbon market, it has to be signatory first of, to be signatory of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This means that for countries which are not a signatory to the convention, they can't also participate to the carbon market. Yeah, but they must have also the policies and the strategies that allow the development of carbon market. And while we are still there, I am happy to report to you that we fulfill all those requirements here in Rwanda. Rwanda is signatory to UNFCCC, and we were among the first countries that ratified also the Paris Agreement, and this opens our door to participate to carbon market, even under Paris Agreement era, because we ratified Paris Agreement. And again, we have policies that facilitate or that allow the development of carbon market, because when we are talking about carbon market, we are talking about the emission reductions, and our country's vision, I hope you all know that Rwanda's vision is to be a developed, climate resilient, and low carbon economy by 2050. This is the vision of our green growth and the climate resilience strategy. This creates a conducive environment for development of carbon market, because among the requirements to accept a project, it must be aligned with the national policies and the strategy. And also, in our national determined contribution, Rwanda committed to reduce the emissions at 38% compared to the business as usual. That we've referenced to the baseline year of 2015. This is an opportunity, as we will see, because if a project developer got interest to develop a carbon market, he or she can refer to the project, to eligible projects that Rwanda has put forward in this nationally determined contributions. It's really very important to know this. So, coming back on national carbon market framework itself, it was developed in 2023 and adopted or launched at COP28 last year. It's still new. This is why we do not have yet many projects under Paris Agreement, as you will see, but we fulfilled all the requirements to have them, and we are achieving them. The objective of developing this framework was to regulate and govern carbon market in the country, with aim to facilitate Rwanda's participation to the international carbon market, because there are some requirements of Paris Agreement for a country to participate, including having this national or framework, and I am happy to inform you that we are among also the first countries that have developed this. What is in the framework then? The framework establishes a governance and institutional structure for carbon market in the country, and it also portrays the procedures that must be followed by a project developer to have the projects approved up to the level of setting the emission reductions. I hope you are not frustrated by those terms. Some say emission reductions, carbon credit, international transfer mitigation outcomes, emissions units. It depends on the standard, like Dr. Desiree presented them, but they are the same. They're saying carbon credits, emission reductions unit, certified emission reductions, they mean the same thing actually. It depends. But under Paris Agreement, we use mostly the international transfer mitigation outcome in the place of certified emission reductions that we use to to have in the, under Kyoto era, under CDM era. Yes. Regarding the institutional arrangements now for carbon market in Rwanda, REMA, or Rwanda Environment Management Authority, is still the designated national authority regulating carbon market in the country. But REMA is supported by other bodies that were established under this framework, including the governing board, what we call governing board or oversight body, which is responsible for a long-term oversight to support the process of adopting necessary legislation and institutional mandate, and to oversee the implementation process as it is required. Actually, I would say that this governing board is the supreme body that governs the carbon market, because it's through its decision that all the projects that will approve the transfer of mitigation outcomes, that we approve, will give the letter of approval to the project and so on. You see, it provides the oversight to the carbon market to work in the country. But this is a decision-making body, if I could say, but it must be supported by the technical committee, which review those technical related carbon market technical related work, including those methodologies, including the requests sent by project proponent, because even if they are received by REMA, it's not REMA to take decision to approve a project or to reject it. It passes through, it passes first, REMA receive the requests, as we see, and the carbon market office, it is how it will be called under the framework, will check the quick requirements, whether the project proponent has submitted all the documents required or not. If they are not submitted all, they interact with him or her to fulfill them before the project proposal can be tabled in the technical committee, and it's up to the technical committee to formulate the recommendation to approve or reject a project. Are we together? Turabyumva aho ngaho turi kumwe. Yenda nahise njya muri procedure ko bikora ariko ntacyo biradufasha kubyumva no kugira no gusavinga. This means that the technical committee works closely with DNA, which is REMA, at the level of approving the projects. But when it comes to the authorization, issuance of emission reductions unit or emission reductions, issuance of authorization for transfer, this is where now the governing board comes in to take this high-level decision, because it's selling the emission. Those emission reductions are our national property, if I can say, because it requires a high decision for them to be transferred to other countries, for example. This is why this governing board will see the composition. Yeah, this is the role of technical committee. I will share the presentation, I can read them. This is now the composition of the governing board. We have some ministries, some government agencies. We must have also a member of the private sector. I think the PSF knows we requested for some nominations from all those institutions. Those institutions in the governing board are the same institution in technical committee, but they have to send people who have different levels. They sent someone who is technical to be part of technical committee, and they send also someone who can take decision to be in governing board. It also portrays the procedures to follow. I mentioned this, and among the procedures, we have, for example, the first step for any project to be developed is to have an idea of what you want, of a project that you want to implement. And we, after having the idea, if a project, but before a project developer writes a project, an idea note, there are things that are needed to be considered. You need first understand, as Dr. Desiree explained, you need first to understand the requirements. What are the policies? What are eligible projects? As we under our carbon market, we have what we call positive and negative lists. Which are the projects that are on positive lists, which project are negative list. Well, you know, I don't know if you went through our national determined contributions. There are what we call in the measures that mitigation measures that the country has put forward. They are grouped in two categories. There are those which are grouped in conditional measures, and those are the measures that will be implemented with international support, with external finance, and the carbon market is among those external finance that are targeted. And there are also those measures that were put in the category of unconditional measures. Those are measures that will be implemented using the domestic means without the need for external support. In the carbon market, then, or the projects that are on the positive list that are eligible for carbon markets are those that fall in the sectors which have measures in unconditional, in conditional measures. Conditional measures, those that requires the international support or the external finance. After having, after developing, identifying the mitigation, the eligible mitigation activities, a project developer will ask a no objection letter, and the no objection letter will be, let's use this actually. If I will share this presentation. If you open this link, you will see the details. But simply, I want to take you through the steps. After the establishment of a carbon market project by a project developer, it fills templates of project idea note or P to give a summary of the project. After filling this pin, we'll send it to REMA, and REMA will with the support of technical committee, will assess it, see whether it is aligned with those policies that I told you, aligned with, aligned with sustainable development criteria. Sorry. I am for UT. Let's stand here. Use one. And give the no objection letter to the project developer. After having the no objection letter, the project developer will go further in developing the project, and it will produce the mitigation activity design document, or MAD, and there is a template on the website showing the information needed in this MAD, and this MAD provides details, more details than the PIN, to convince that the project has really the potential for reducing emission. More details are asked, and he will again, he or she will submit it again to the DNA, and the DNA with support of a technical committee will go through it and see really if the project can be allowed to go to another step. Another step is the implementation. Here it was simplified. After having this green light through the letter that we call letter of approval, the project project developer will start the implementation. This is the phase 1. In phase 2, which is the implementation, you implement, normally for those who are used to implement the carbon market project know, when you implement the project, you keep records. You keep records. For example, you are distributing cook stove. You keep the records, and every year you conduct the verification. The verification is done by an external verifier, and you produce the report. Project developer produce through this verifier produce the report, verification report, that they will send to DNA again to request for the carbon credits, if I can say, emission reductions credits. Ni ukuvuga ngo iyo umaze kugira uwo mu verifier akagukorera report akavuga ati muri solar home system project any company, iyi company yakoze imaze umwaka implementinga ya reducinze emission reductions toni 1,000 nk'urugero agatanga proof. The technical committee will check whether the methodology was good, whether they really achieved those emission reductions, and give you the paper, a letter confirming that those emission reductions were achieved. It's this letter that you take to the market. Actually, this is the carbon credits that we're saying. And if you have a buyer, you discuss and you get the agreements and you sell. But when it comes to transferring those emission reductions to any other country in order to achieve its NDC targets, it requires the authorization. The authorization from the country, and it's the governing board that will take the decision. I think it's the last step in this under implementation phase. If we open this link, we will see more details, and here you will also find some other guidance and some frequently asked questions on the carbon market that I didn't develop here on those links. The carbon market framework has also the registry. It's mandatory to have a registry. It's a requirement of Paris Agreement. We are still developing it. We are refining it it's not yet operational, but by end of this September, it will be operational. It's kind of online platform where the projects are registered, and they have to report regularly under the system, under this online platform. About the potential, carbon market potential, I think I have mentioned it. We have potential because according to our policies, according to our strategies, the country is in the vision of reducing emissions. This means that any project in line with emission reduction, in line with what the country has put forward in NDC, is eligible to carbon market. And I think I have explained those issues of positive and negative lists. Yeah, I'm trying to be quick. So far, one may ask him or herself if we have some project. I didn't want to mention the names because project developers do not like this. But we currently have 8 projects, including 4 in energy efficiency, mostly cook stove. I don't know why, and we are looking at it. Why always developing projects in cook stove? And we have 2 in agroforestry, which is good. It has more. They have more other benefits. And we have some on water filters. And so far we've delivered 13 no objection letters, but few of those projects are at this level of having the letter of approval. Cook stove dominates in the projects that we have. I don't know why they're easy to develop, but we should also think and enlarge the scope and see also other technologies. Ntabwo umunyarwanda kuyishiga gusa, ntabwo umunyarwanda kuyimbabura gusa, tukwiye kujya no mu zindi technologies. Yes. So far, Jean and Dr. Desiree talked about those Article 6 mechanisms. Those other projects that I mentioned are under the voluntary carbon market. They are under the voluntary carbon market, and but we have also some cooperative approach agreements between some countries. We've an agreement with we finalized the agreement with Singapore. I have an agreement with Singapore, and we are finalizing an agreement with Sweden to exchange those ITMOs. I think it's also an opportunity for private sector to develop projects, because when we have the agreements with those countries, it's a market that is available. We are creating the opportunity of where to sell. For Sweden, it's not yet concluded, but all requirements, all discussions were done. The ball is on their side. If they send it back, we'll see if it can be signed, probably in the sideline of COP29. Yeah. I think I still have some slides on what we heard about called Standardized Crediting Framework, or SCF. It's another framework that we have that is generating now money in the country, that is generating the emission reductions that have already the market, because it's the World Bank that is buying them. I am not quite sure if you are part of these projects of energy access and the quality improvement projects. It's being implemented through EDCR and jointly with BRD, and their emission reductions will be certified according to this standard crediting framework that we piloted some years back in Jean, was it 2017? I think 2017, 18, 19, yeah. And so far we do have some templates that were developed under SCF which can also be used by other projects if need be, depending on the technologies. But here they were developed in solar home systems and for solar home systems and improved cook stoves only. They are available on our website. I don't want to go through all of them. I thank you so much. I think I've tried to summarize. Otherwise, the document is big. You can also find it on the links that I shared.
Thank you very much. I hope you have learned a lot from all the previous presenters. I know this is a bit of a complicated subject or complex subject, but as he mentioned, the slides will be shared, and the more you read about it, the more you actually understand the carbon markets. I think what I can share with you is that all the companies that are in energy, at least, are all eligible candidates. So maybe you should take more time to understand how carbon markets work so that you can benefit from them. It's an additional revenue for your companies. Let me request Dr. Desire Ruragaragaza to come forward and just take us through the next session before we can end. I hope you're not too tired, but I'm sure he will wrap it up quickly.
It's just brainstorming. Now it's brainstorming time. Can I have their workshop questions, please, on? Let us regroup. Let us regroup, I think, as 6 groups. 6 groups, move around and sit, for example, 10 on a table, 10 or 8 on a table. We want 6 groups. 6 groups. Group 1 somewhere. Group 2 somewhere. 3. Let us just brainstorm together. Okay? Move, move. Workshop questions, please. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Aaron, please come. Just some questions. 6. 8 or 10. Group 1. There are 7. No. Up. Oh, there are 7. Very good. 7. Make 7. Thanks. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 7 over there. Very good. Are we starting from there? Number one? Good. Number one over there. Can you nominate someone who is going to just to put together your answers? You nominate someone from your group who's going to put together your answers. Your question is, why should Article 6 of Paris Agreement be included in any energy project strategy? That's for you. Group number one. Group number two. That is this group here. Thank you. What do you think are the main hurdles the private sector is facing in relation to accessing climate finance, and what should be done to overcome them? Is there anyone in the private sector in the group? Very good, wonderful. Group number three, that is there. Someone has refused to join a group. Here, okay. Group number three. What should be the role of government and the regulators in climate finance? If you have one, are they doing what they ought to do? Group number four. We have group number four here. What should be the role of the academia in standardizing the methodology? We've got plenty of methodologies. Now, what should be the role of the... This morning we were talking about the academic side of how they can improve the green energy and their insightful theoretical background. Anyway, group number five. Group number five is in middle. Is the climate finance impacting the local communities? If so, how? If not, why? Group number five. Group number six. Group number six. Dr. Brave, yeah, over there, group number six. How can carbon market de-risk the investment for energy generation? And group number seven, how can SMEs in energy afford the cost of carbon market component development? We have these 7 questions. We would like to have the answers in about 10 minutes. We put them together and see what has been the outcome and your insight in relation to what we've just said. I hope these insights and those outcomes will be one of the starting point to understanding and implementing and enjoying the result of the carbon market framework that has been initiated in Rwanda. Let us go, do it and see what we get. Thank you. Jean, please look after group number 2. Is it number 2? Yes. Jean, It's group number 1 and 2. Perfect. Hermon, group number 3 and 4. Once you are done, please. We've got 8 minutes left, but once you are done, Jean, Herman, and myself, we collect all your insights and then discuss later for 5 minutes. Thanks. Herman, can you collect the insights from group 3 and 4, please? And I'm collecting the insights from 5, 6, and 7. 5, 6, and 7.
So regarding this, our group have found that the first point is so money. Obviously, that's what we're all here for, mostly. So it's in Rwanda, one of the first or the priority sectors is the energy sector. So, and so far they're actually doing well because they're promoting mobility, off-grid community, energy, solar. So that was our first point. Secondly, it encourages more investing in private investment. The third point is it raises the profile of the project internationally. Our first point was that it encourages innovation project research. Also, it creates employment. It creates more exposure internationally. It creates, so it helps every company to have CSR and the brand image. It pushes companies to re-strategize, to think sustainable. So if you're a project energy today accredited, your government, the government is more likely to invest more into it because it is actually sustainable. It uses capacity. So the fund collected can be used in capacity building. Yeah, and our last point is sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, representative of Group 1. You suggested those points, and they are very important. And I think they would contribute in helping the private sector to, you know, consider the Paris Agreement Article 6 in their project development and the strategy. May I invite the representative of Group 2 to come and share the group points that were mainstreamed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 2. We had a question that was about speaking about the challenge that the private sector is facing for accessing, the climate finance. So I'm really glad to speak about that because personally I'm the private sector, and I do really know the challenges that we have in that area. So it's such a pleasure. Personally, I work for a company called the Netis Group. We specialize in telecommunication and also energy. So we've been here since 4 years and also present in other 16 countries here in Africa. So our group and I, we've been brainstorming and we come to different challenges that the private sector is facing. And the first one is that we don't have knowledge. We don't have knowledge of the climate finance market. Actually, we see that as a big challenge because we don't know where to find that money actually, and we are facing that challenge. And also, one of our members came with the variability of the market. The market is not stable. It's changing time after time. So today, the climate finance market can focus on the clean cooking. Tomorrow it will be solar, and also after tomorrow it will be another, clean energy generation technology. So if we have access to information and the market trend, how it will be changing, we think that would be very helpful. And also another point is that the upfront cost to start the process itself is really costly, and it's high. The upfront cost is high. And also another point is that we don't know the qualified people. We don't know who to go to so that we can be advised on the climate finance market, and that's also a big issue. Coming up with a solution, we we just thought that the government could support for the upfront costs of doing the pre-feasibility study, for instance, and also for the issue related to the people who are knowledgeable. We think that REMA could certify some people who would be advisors, as other sectors are doing. So we came up with the example of the people who are working maybe in real estate. If they need any advisement, they go to a given person, they say, okay, that is what I want to do. What do you advise me to do? We think that the process also could be streamlined if we could have access to those people too. And also, there is, of course, there is a regulatory framework, but we need more explanation. And I mean, such kind of workshop are really encouraged so that we can be able to understand well that regulatory framework as well. And also, the capacity building is really important. Capacity building is really important, as I mentioned so far, I mentioned before. And also, we need some clarification on the process for getting that carbon finance or carbon credit money. And the last one is that we have to reinforce the local standard. Yeah, this we think is really important because when we look at the standards that are being imposed to us internationally, there is some standard that we can't meet due to the local reality. So we need to have at least our local reality so that we can be able to meet the standard that are, actually the standard that reflects the local situation in which we are. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's now invite the other group worked on the role of governments. Okay. Welcome.
So, thank you very much. We're group number 3, and we worked on the role of government and the regulators in climate finance. We looked at it and we saw that the role of the government and regulators appear in 3 aspects. There is effective mobilization and governance and alignment of financial resources with climate goals. So in that sense then, we outlined some points that are important, that are showing the role of government and regulators. The first was that the government has to be part of international agreements. So if Rwanda was not part of Paris Agreement, then it won't be easy to enter this market. Then creating and enabling policies and framework. Then there has to be a framework to be able to just do this climate finance. Then there has to be a creation of regulations and standards. Of course, standards has to be in place. Then the government has to mobilize public and private capital to be able to help those who want to start this business to be able to start it. Then has to be international corporations and finance. Then has to be capacity building. This was discussed a bit more so that people can be understanding what they do and have the people in the local framework to just be able to certify those who want to do that and to verify those who are doing it. Then has to be a technical, an availability of the technical support. The government has to monitor and has to just make sure that it's accountable of everything that is happening in the environment. And then the government has to address inequality and justice. That's all. Thank you very much.
the group, maybe the one aspect that was not well developed is about the monitoring. Monitoring has a very important role in this carbon market business, because not all emission reductions have credits to be to the buyers, because they need to buy the high quality emission reductions. So the governments have to put in place regulatory framework that help project developers to produce high quality emission reductions and enforce the regulations to have them. Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the group. The other group which worked on the role of academia in this business.
Good afternoon. We are Group 4. Our question was, what would be the role of academia in standardizing methodologies? Our first point was to make sure that academia provides productive research in the universities, so that students may do a research well supervised, so that it can provide the best outcomes. So the second point was capacity building through offering trainings and offering short courses in the related ways. So the third point was providing knowledge exchange through international collaboration, so as students may go out and share knowledge and gain knowledge globally. So the fourth point was enhance collaboration between universities, public institutions, and industries. The last was resource mobilization. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, the group. The academia has an important role in this carbon market business, because it's not a business like others. This is based on science. Those methodologies, to be approved, they have to be evidence-based. So to convince that those emission reductions that you are claiming were achieved, it requires to show how they were calculated, how which methodologies, to have the adequate methodologies that is recognized internationally. So the academia here will play an important role, but also the knowledge sharing, even the capacity building will be accompanied by our universities, by the academia. Thank you.
Can I invite group number 5 to come and present their findings and their insights? By the way, we've been thinking about why the stove, the cook stoves are just getting this amount of money, some money. Can I just give me one? No, you can sit there. Give me 1 second. Can I ask someone who is over there to project? Look at one of the documents I shared with you. It's methodology. Methodology, something like that. And I give them just an example of how it's done, the baseline, and then we understand. I've been discussing with some of you about the methodology. Do you still have my file? Okay. While we're still looking for it, please join me and
Hello, everyone. It's one of my greatest honors to stand before you to share with you some of our perspectives that my team and I tremendously brainstormed about these critical questions, which is how can the climate finance impact the local community. As a result, we come up with different perspectives that can critically answer the questions with different perspectives in political, social, and also economic aspect as well. We came to a conclusion that the climate finance can impact the local community through job creation, food security, rural economy, equity, and gender. But we made a mind to critically think about how this climate finance also try to hamper the local community aspects of activities and different economy boosting as well. So we made in mind that it's very crucial and important to proceed with a participatory approach, which means that it's very important to come up with primary data, not only secondary data, in order to solve the roots of the problem, not the effects of the problems. Because we realize that most NGOs currently that practically get fundings from different international organizations, they don't drastically solve the roots of the problems. They just look at the surface of the problems in order to get a lot more fundings. But the moment we try to look at the roots of the problems, not the effects of the problems, it will help us to make the climate finance, sustainable on the local communities through the different activities of development. Thank you.
Probably a point that they didn't mention in relation to the climate finance impacting the local community is that some of the companies that are claiming this amount of money, they don't bring it back. So we need to look at that again. Yes, thank you. Can you, will be up? This is for the solar home systems for Rwanda. There are people who have not claimed this money. Are we bit up? That's the summary, eligibility criteria. These are documents that are online on REMA. You can access this online. Are we bit up? We're talking about will be up. We're talking about go to baseline. This is, the equation, yeah, the baseline. This is how you calculate it. You need to understand the baseline, the factors and the parameters, and then once you apply this, at least you will have a baseline. When you have a baseline, you will know how much CO2 you have managed to remove or reduce or avoid using the solar system, the home solar system. There is another template that you can access as well on REMA, on REMA's website. It shows you how to calculate the baseline and hence getting the amount of CO2 you have managed to. Another thing, I will provide you with a baseline as well for hydropower plant. But if I give you that, I will get out of business. Anyway, let us continue. Group number 6, thank you.
Yes, thank you for this time. I am Jean-Claude Ajenimana, presenting Group 6. We had a question that asked how carbon de-risk the investment of inner generations. We're discussing about this, and we found that the carbon finance, when it comes, it helps to remove and reduce the financial challenges, which are reducing tariffs. Also, it's reducing the risk on taxes. Also, reduces the effect of high interest on loans. Also, we have also mentioned that when we are on this carbon finance, the nations or companies of renewable will adopt renewable energy technology to have enough to export. Here we'll be benefiting both in terms of money from exports, also in terms of climate stability. As conclusion, we as Group 6, we conclude that we will be able to keep investing as well as we will be having enough money from exported carbon. Thank you.
Next, group number 7.
This one is a subject which interests everyone, because now is where you know how you're going to get financing for your credit carbon access. My name is Fabrice Nakiritimana from Tembo, Africa. Our subject was how can SME in energy afford the cost of carbon credit market component development. We managed to get like 9 points how you can get the finance for credit carbon. 1, it's partnership and collaboration between SMEs. 2, government grant and incentive, whereby you may see some taxation, tax waves, policies, subsidies, tax support innovation in green energy. 3rd, we manage the point of third parties financing, like green bonds, venture capital firms, whereby you can access. 4, use of open platform and technology. These platforms they often provide tools for tracking and trading carbon credit without the need to build from scratch. And scaling gradually, SMEs can reduce costs by focusing on small scale carbon projects first, and gradually scaling operations as they generate revenue from initial credit and trading activities. Point number 6, outsourcing and consulting services. Point number 7, carbon offsetting services. Consultants collaborate with organizations that offer carbon offset services. Point number 8, public-private partnership, whereby can open up access to public funds. Point number 9, capacity building. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all of you. I didn't know that we were already around 6 o'clock, but I think that this has been very insightful. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for your contribution. We are going to gather all of your insights and put together some recommendations, and I hope EDP will be able to implement those, and the regulator who is already here, one of them who was presenting, will take into account what has been said this afternoon. It's on that note that I thank you all for being with us. Well, this is the end of day 3. And tomorrow we'll be separating, going in different directions. We will miss you all. You have our contact. Get in touch when you can, and particularly those who have business who need carbon market financing. We need your money. Thank you. Bye now.
Good evening once again. As we are closing this conference, the 3 days conference, we would love to have like one minute or second to close officially, and then we give you the announcements. All right. Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel Dagishmana, and I head business development at EPD. I have around 8 years experience in renewable energy, and I have background in mechanical engineering. Well, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today, as we conclude the 4th edition of Energy Week, named Renewable Energy for Sustainable Growth, and mark a decade of impact that EPD has been made. We want to thank each and everyone, specifically the government of Rwanda, that has given us this platform to exchange this knowledge. We want to thank development partners. We want to thank energy private developers, as well as the financial institution. We cannot leave this conference, this meaningful day, without calling all the stakeholders for action. This week has illuminated the path forward for driving energy transition, aligning our efforts with COP28 SDG 7, NST, and NDC, and addressing diverse perspectives on renewable energy. We have explored the potential of solar energy from its role in commercial and industrial application until to its integration in the universal clean cooking solution. Our discussions on climate finance, carbon market, climate mitigation, and adaptation have highlighted the urgency of mobilizing resources and implementing effective strategies. Therefore, we call upon governments, including the Ministry of Infrastructure, various ministries such as Minagri, Ministry of Environment, and Ministry of Education, and other regulators. We say that you have a pivotal role in shaping policies that drive sustainable energy transition. We urge you to continue craft and enforce policies that support renewable energy integration, foster innovation, and ensure equitable access for all. We also urge for financial institutions that we recognize your support, and we know it is crucial. And the funding you provide enables the scaling of solar technologies, the advancement of clean cooking solution, and the implementation of climate adaptation and mitigation projects. We call upon you to invest strategically in this area and supporting both pioneering and proven initiatives that drive impact. That's for you, for financial institutions. We cannot forget to call upon for academia and researchers. We also recognize your insights as well as the innovations to fuel progress. And we continue to encourage you to also encourage the real-world challenges and contribute to the policy discussions and drive forward research that address energy needs and sustainability goals. We also encourage and call upon the energy experts as well as the development partners that your collaborative efforts are vital, and since then we want you to work together with us and different stakeholders to overcome different barriers we are meeting. This will accelerate the adoption of renewable energy technologies and support the capacity building. We also recognize the role of media because it is equally significant in raising awareness and educating the public on renewable energy benefits and climate action. Please use your action and platform to amplify the voices, share the success stories, and foster a culture of sustainability. We can also not go without calling upon the recognition of the role of women in advancing energy solutions. Let us all ensure that gender inclusivity remains a core focus in all our initiatives. Empowering women leads to stronger and more resilient energy systems. As we celebrate the 10th year milestone of EPD's existence, let's reaffirm our collective commitment, efforts to these goals. The journey ahead demands unwavering dedication, collaboration, and innovation. Let us all take insights and actions from this week, even the days coming, then turn them into tangible progress. I really thank you for your kind attention. Thank you very much. I have a few announcements. Tomorrow we have field visits. We have e-mobility visit that will take place within Kigali. And we also have Rusumo power plant visit that is going to take place in Chirehe district, and also the mini grid and productive use project site visit that is going to take place in Gatsibo district. We all have the agenda. We start from tomorrow at 7 here. That's where we'll be departing. We urge you to come early, at least 6:30, then we clear everything. And at 7 sharp, we'll be departing. Then we have 2 buses which will go to Rusumo, and we have one which will go to Gatsibo district, and then in Kigali. One that will go visiting the 3 places. We will visit Basigo charging station, those who are interested to visit the e-mobility assembling plants. Then we'll go to, now we start from Spiro charging, smart charging station. Then we go to Basigo charging station, as we'll be heading to, lastly, to the Ampersand. We also visit the assembling plant in Ampersand. I think without taking much of your time, we wish you well, and you and your families good health. Thank you very much. And so in this evening, sorry for delay, in this evening we have a General Assembly for active members from 6:30. So it's very closing. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.